Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I've got filmmaker Kevin Lee with me. Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
All right, so it's a pleasure. By the way, I don't think I remembered to say this in the previous episode, because the previous episode is an interview with you all about you and your life as a writer-director. Your film, Alley, was at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival last December of 2024. And Alley took home the Programmer's Prize for Exceptional Filmmaking because it's a kick-ass movie.
Thank you.
Rom-com horror. Gotta love it. And so people should listen to the podcast before this one and learn all about Kevin and his film. This podcast, Kevin's going to answer the Discover Indie Film 4 questions, which is just a fun way to... Honestly, these questions are obviously just an attempt to just give people a chance to shoot the shit
judge
about
my
cinema.
taste. It's a chance for the listeners to judge my taste. That's really what
judge,
it is.
but I mean, I wish, if I won the lottery, I would probably go through all these podcasts and watch all the really cool things that people mention that I'm like, I always did want to see that film, and you know what I mean? So it's also a nice recommendation system, I think.
Sure.
All right, so I'm just going to let you go ahead and answer the first question, which is name 3 favorites.
Yeah, that's so difficult because there's so many different kinds of gauges as to what makes a film your favorite, and it can change at any point.
Changes all the time. I will say that if you want to go more than 3, you can. There's not. As you notice, I don't have a whistle to call foul on you or anything.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start with 12 Angry Men is easily one of my all-time favorite films. I think that film is anytime I need a shot of adrenaline that gives me back my inspiration to want to tell a story and make a film. Damn, 12 Angry Men shows that you can do that in the most limited place with a small fixed cast. You just need a killer script, and even a fixed location requires directing and blocking and pacing and timing. And that film just it just holds up in every aspect, from its political thematic ideas down to just the craft. I think that movie is a masterpiece, and every chance I get to show it to someone who's never seen it, it's always a pleasure.
What's hilarious is I did see it, but a million years ago.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it, I think, since I was, I've seen it all I remember is Henry Fonda.
Yeah, right. He kills it. He kills it in that. The whole cast kills it.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, you got a few more coming?
Yeah. My second one, I have to go with It's a Wonderful Life. Classic film that's shown every year on TV during Christmas, but I think it's one of those movies that there's a good reason why it's shown every year. I think of all the films we've got time and time again with life-affirming messages, I think It's a Wonderful Life hits the most basic universal aspect of the life-affirming message. And I feel no matter at which point in my life I'm in, I feel that movie holds my hand throughout whatever I'm going through.
And something I always have to say about it, because people do bring it up with me, is that it's a lot darker than people realize.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like this candy-coated Christmas story.
No, not at all.
This is a film about a man thinking of taking his own life.
Yep.
It is interesting, but of course it is an inspiring film, so I understand why it became a Christmas favorite. But yeah, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yep. One of those films that I think really, really has aged better over time and really deserves its status of being a classic that's shown and talked about every year. It's one of those cases where, yes, it is that good.
All right. Well, you're 2 for 2 on classic Hollywood black and white cinema from the golden era. With
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
but that's fair. That's legit.
Yeah. And then my third choice goes to an animated film. I have to go with My Neighbor Totoro, which
Oh,
that film has to be one of the first films I've ever seen as a kid. I still own the VHS tape to that movie, and funny enough, the VHS tape that I owned was the audio was spoken in Japanese, and there were Chinese subtitles. And so, actually, when I grew up as a kid, I actually understood nothing. I had no idea what the characters were talking about because they were speaking in Japanese, and I wasn't old enough to be able to read the Chinese subtitles. And yet, through the imagery and the visuals and Hayao Miyazaki's direction, I understood what the story was and every single emotional point that the characters were going through. And I think that was one of the first, like, it really unlocked at an early stage, my love for pursuing like international cinema and seeing stories told from other points of view and other cultures. So I have to save a spot for that one.
no, it's so wonderful. In fact, I mean, obviously, as a parent, the Studio Ghibli is critical in every household. It should be,
Yep.
and I think that was actually the universal favorite in our household of I mean, there's so many great films from that studio, but
Yeah.
yeah, My Neighbor Totoro is so special, and you brought up something really amazing, which is one of the tests of a great film is you can completely follow the story even if you don't understand the dialogue.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, what do you want to throw in one more or not?
I'll just list off a few honorable mentions that I feel like I just have to quickly mention them. Back to the Future is a classic. It is as good as people say it is. Just yeah, masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Never remake it ever, please.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah, yeah. And then more recent titles. I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire. The French film by Celine Sciamma is incredible. That was my favorite film of that year. Just every frame in that movie is like a painting and suggests something really deep that doesn't have to be said out loud, but it's as clear as day when you see it in the shot, in the context of yeah, incredible film. Also, shout out to A Separation, the 2011 Iranian film. One of my favorite films that explores these really morally complex and gray ideas where you understand every character's point of view and no one's entirely wrong, but no one's entirely right either. And it just makes for riveting drama. Last but not least, I got to mention Millennium Actress, the anime film from Satoshi Kon. I think that's his final film. That film is, I think, probably one of the best portrayals of like life and and legacy, the things that we leave behind, how our time here is so temporary, but through something like art and cinema, it takes on, like, we take on a whole new life because there's a next generation of people who would come and see your work and your art. And I think that film is extremely bittersweet, heartbreaking, but it's also so beautiful and yeah, sublime film.
You know, I haven't seen it, so now you're making me bump it way up in my mental list. I will write it down. I'll throw it on the list that's on my phone of movies to watch for
Well,
sure.
there you
As
go.
well as Portrait of a Lady on Fire, because I always wanted to see that, and I actually have not.
Oh, incredible, incredible film. And that was the year when Parasite won Best Picture. You know, and yeah, Parasite
For
was my
sure.
number two.
Man,
Yeah.
and your praise for Back to the Future is not misladen because it might be one of the most perfect scripts ever. It's just
Yep.
so
Yep.
everything about it so smart, so good. All right, well, rub my hands together now because you are a film reviewer. Heck, that's what you have a degree in. So, um, what's your underrated film?
We were before we started this episode, we briefly started talking about Star Wars. So, all right, I'm just going to come out and say I am a huge defender of The Last Jedi. I love that film. It like blew my mind on opening night when I first saw it, and I thought it was the most thematically interesting thing that the franchise has done since Empire Strikes Back, for better or worse. And naturally, as we all know, the internet lost its mind over that movie, and it still remains to be one of the most divisive mainstream movies ever made. So every once in a while, when I get a chance to defend it and say something good about it, I will.
And that's the Rian Johnson one, right?
That's correct. That's the Rian Johnson one. That's the middle chapter one.
Yeah. Count me as one of the people that's just like couldn't embrace it. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
But all good. All right.
Yep. And then I have a few more just to quickly throw out films that I would defend. We all talk about how perfect The Matrix is as a movie, but I love to also bat for the sequels.
So you go to bat for those.
Yeah. I think they are really fascinating continuations of the original's idea. And yes, I do think the original one is still the best one, like easily still the best one. But I think all the sequels still do really interesting, fascinating things. And as action movies, they're still really fun to watch.
I'm with you, by the way. I'll back you up because when we showed our kid The Matrix, we watched all three in a weekend. Mm-hmm. And, when you watch all three, I think one of the reasons why those two sequels get shit on so badly is that The Matrix is perfect. And then we all had to wait, I don't know how many years for the next two, but then they came boom, boom.
Yep.
And we had too long a wait, and it wasn't obviously like if you've watched The Matrix 79 times since it came out.
Yeah.
The expectation's too high for that sequel anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm with you. They play well.
Yeah. A couple more movies that I would go to bat for. Comic book fans love to compare what are some superhero films that they love, that they hate, and what are some that are not as bad as people say. So I'm a huge defender of Ang Lee's Hulk, the one starring Eric Bana. I think that film is so visually unique. It's probably one of the few superhero movies that actually tries to transform the comic book medium. And it's also a film that really takes its time to explore the psychology of the characters rather than just give you action and explosions. And I think for a film that I actually didn't really love when I first saw it, I think that film just gotten better and better as I think superhero films nowadays have become more chaotic and more noisy. I think it's a really breath of fresh air to see a film take its time and actually tell a story.
I mean, I agree. I remember loving it. I think again, by the way, I think Ang Lee might be one of the greatest directors to ever be on this planet.
Yeah, fantastic director.
Just his I can't even name all the films of his that I think are near perfect, but but anyway, but I think that Hulk got shit on because the effects sometimes weren't up to par with what people wanted. But yeah, I always thought it was a bummer that Eric Bana didn't get to continue as David Banner, right? Banner, but Bruce Banner, motherfucker. But but of course it's BB. But yeah, I'm with you. That's a nice call. That's a nice shout out.
Yeah.
All right, so now you want to go to overrated?
I think overrated is such a strong word. Typically what ends up happening for me is there's always these movies every year that, do I like them? I do. I'm just not crazy about them like some other people are, right? And then add that on top of some other unpopular ideas, especially when movies have sequels, there's a common consensus on which one's better, and sometimes I just don't agree. So I'll start with one because I end up having this conversation so many times with either my friends or with random people. I'm not crazy about the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I think that film is phenomenally acted. I think Todd Phillips is a really talented visual director. And I think that score is fantastic. But on a writing level, I think that film has issues.
I totally agree.
I think those issues get more problematic the more you think about them, and the more you talk about them out loud, they get more problematic.
And it really is just a tour de force performance piece for Joaquin Phoenix. But story matters.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I thought that was super over. I'm with you. And by the way, I always say, like, overrated does not mean bad.
Right.
It just means, that, sometimes, look, one of the favorite things the Oscars do is a filmmaker's best film doesn't win, and then they give it to a film 3 or 5 years later that's not as good, but they're like, well, we owed them that one, so we're going to give it to them now, like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
But do you have another overrated, or you?
Well, so I'm going to name a trio of films that have sequels in which I disagree with the consensus, at least what I feel like the consensus is, and hilariously, they're all animated films. I'm that weird guy who thinks Shrek 1 is better than Shrek 2. And
I had no idea there were people that thought Shrek 2 is better.
There's a lot of people out there who think Shrek 2 is better.
That's funny.
I am also that weird guy who prefers the second Inside Out over the first.
We didn't see it, but
it's great. Good stuff. And then I am also that weird guy who thinks Finding Dory is better than Finding Nemo.
Ooh. Again, I didn't see it. Needless to say, once your kid's in high school, you don't see as many animated films. But, that's interesting. Maybe it's better.
and like, look, those are all classic movies, and they're all great. But sometimes another movie comes along and it just pushes like specific buttons that you just care about a little bit more. And there's certain things in the writing and in the sense of humor, or just something in how it explores a certain idea that makes me feel, I like this one more than the previous one. And even if the previous one's still more popular and more beloved, that's okay. But I prefer the other one.
Right. So technically, what you're saying when you say Finding Dory is the better film, you're saying that Finding Nemo is overrated.
You could say it that way. But see, that's the other.
But what you're saying is Finding Dory is underrated.
Yeah, I honestly, I would put it that way. Instead of wording it as Finding Nemo is overrated, I would word it as Finding Dory is underrated.
And you mean Inside Out 2 is underrated. And you're even saying Shrek 1 is underrated. Yeah, so you really just added to your underrated.
Yeah, really.
If you want to be a nicer person.
Yeah, because the thing about our culture is overrated just sounds like you're looking for a fight.
That's true.
And I'm not. I'm really not.
That's true, but weren't the Nolan Batmans those? Oh, anyway. Okay, so last question is a lesser-known film that people should seek out.
Yeah, I have two good ones. The first one that I've got is a Russian film called Beanpole. Came out in 2019. Takes place after World War II, and it's like this really bleak film, actually, about two war veterans who then volunteered to work at a hospital that takes care of veterans. And it's about this friendship between these two women, but it also explores the toxicity of that relationship and the ups and downs. And that film, not many people saw, because it's, I think Kino Lorber has that film. And It's really low budget. It's got a few fixed locations. It's also, like I said, it's a very bleak and heavy film, but I could not look away from it from start to finish. And it made for these really interesting conversations afterwards I had with people where some people found it to be very boring and way too long. And I thought it was like captivating and there's nothing, it was pretty much a perfect movie. It's just, do you vibe with the tone of the film or not? And I don't see enough people talking about it because it just flew under the radar.
Excellent. Excellent.
You know? And then my second film is a Taiwanese drama called The Falls. It came out in 2021 and explores this relationship between mother and daughter during the COVID pandemic in Taiwan. And the mother slowly discovers that she is developing dementia. And the film then becomes this really captivating role reversal where it starts off being the mother taking care of the daughter, and then it becomes the daughter taking care of the mother. And I thought it was a really moving portrait of family, and it manages to still touch on bigger issues like social economic issues and how that seeps into domestic life. Even though that film is largely about mother and daughter, there's like a bunch of other supporting characters in that film that I think help paint a much bigger picture of families that you have no idea what they're going through in their lives. And it's really easy for someone to be turned off by thinking like, oh, it's a film about the pandemic. Like, I wouldn't want to watch that. But it really is just a springboard to explore these deeper family relationships. I think that film was one of my favorites of that year. It just completely flew under the radar, and you can watch it right now on Netflix.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. And well, needless to say, what you said about The Falls, as someone who has had to be a caretaker for his parents, it's it's just so common now. So yeah, like you said, it's not a COVID film. It's a film about aging within families, which is what everyone on earth is dealing with now.
Yeah, it has this really beautiful, heartbreaking yet still moving clash of trajectories where you experience the mother aging, and then that forces the daughter to have to come of age faster than normal.
Got it.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, that is a good list.
Yep, but that's what I got.
That's what you got.
It was really hard. Just settle down on a few for each one, but there you go.
I know there was less Star Wars than I was expecting based on our preamble, but I get it. It was just your defense of Last Jedi.
That was my biggest one. You know,
well, I've heard a lot of people say they love it. I really have. So I honestly, whatever. I don't have to say anything about Star Wars. All right. Everyone listening, there's going to be clickable links in the show notes that will take you to Kevin's reviews on Twitter. There'll also be a link to Kevin's film on Letterboxd. That's the film Alley, as well as Instagram and Kevin's personal Instagram. So there will be clickable links for all that stuff. You should definitely do it. And there was a special request for people to review Alley, right, on Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, just if you've seen the film, if you were one of the few who were able to see it, even if you did not like the movie, that's okay. I want you to leave a rating and a review on there.
It's funny because I don't know. This is where I reveal my age, but like I heard about Letterboxd, I downloaded it, and I can't. I'm like that old person who can't quite figure out what do I need to use this for.
Yeah, it's always like that with a new platform, right? And it's always like learning what the functions are, and then after learning the functions, where in my life do I use this?
Exactly. You know? Whereas if it comes in when you're a younger person, it's just use it.
Yeah. So I use it to log whatever I watch at this point.
But I am jealous of that because I I am guilty of what everyone else is guilty of in today's streaming era of too much content, which is someone says, "What have you seen that's good?" And I'm like, I can't even name it because I've seen so many good things in the last 2 to 3 years. I'm like, sometimes I just go, Slow Horses. Like, I thought Slow Horses was amazing but yeah. So I do wish I had the discipline to use Letterboxd just to tell people what I like.
Yeah, it puts less burden on you on having to remember what you saw. And whether you liked it or not.
I never took it off my phone, so maybe I'll move it up a page. That would be cool. And there's TV on there too, right? So it's like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, they're slowly moving TV on there. Yes.
Excellent. All right, people, I'm going to get us out of here. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you're listening to this, please be kind. Like, subscribe, review, do cool things. If you want to learn more about this podcast that was born from the film festival circuit, just go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. That's on, well, actually, I should be honest. It's on, we pulled it off of Twitter/X and moved it onto Blue Sky. So if you check out the Blue Sky, if you write a comment there, I'm probably going to be the person who responds. And so discoverindiefilm.com was the website for this podcast. If you want to learn about the nonprofit that runs a couple film festivals in Los Angeles, that's discoverindiefilm.org. And you can go there and learn a lot. You could even support the arts and like donate or get a membership. It's funny because I think the membership comes with cool stuff like free submissions to the film festivals and stuff. But
well, that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, just the two, but not bad, right? Because
that's pretty good. Because
it's like whatever.
That's a pretty good incentive.
People are always like, you need more incentives. I'm like, we're trying. All right. So anyway, I always try to mention the nonprofit now because its importance has grown for the festivals. But the two festivals are Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion Los Angeles. We hold Sherman Oaks Film Festival, which is where Kevin's film Alley played. We hold that one every December, and you can learn more if you go to ShermanOaksFF.com. It's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. This Film Invasion Los Angeles is every June. You can learn more at FilmInvasionLA.com, and it's at FilmInvasionLA on social media. And 10th anniversary for both festivals this year, so we're pulling out the stops and doing some cool, what one might call cool shit for the 10th anniversary. And finally, I will mention that Film Invasion Los Angeles, people always talk to me about doing one. There's going to be one in Lima, Peru next year in January of 2026. I've already got a Google flight tracker going to try to get that flight a little cheaper. And I've never been to Lima before, but we've got a wonderful team down there working on it. So I'm mentioning it out there in every podcast because it's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool.
This sounds amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, hey, there will be an email going out to all the Sherman Oaks and Film Invasion alumni saying, hey, inaugural year, we're going to give you like the cheapest submission rate if you want to submit to Peru, because we honestly don't know how many local films we're going to get,
Right.
So, hey, and then maybe people will want to come to Peru. Who knows? I don't know. All right. So anyway, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to thank everyone for listening.